All right, guys. This lecture is called Getting the Right Diet and How to Eat to Live for Real. All right. So, what you're going to learn here, you're going to learn about the major macronutrients and keeping them in balance. You're going to learn about micronutrients and, what types there are and why you need them. You're going to learn about why it's more than just dieting and just taking vitamins. You're going to learn about culturally appropriate diets. You're going to learn about your diet and your diet as it relates to your body, and your diet and how that helps you with girls. So, lots of stuff we can cover here. All right, so why keeping a healthy diet is key? Well, for one, you have healthier brain, you can think more clearly. That's going to help you regulate your emotions and it helps you form logical thoughts so you don't have, you can not suffer from like having a foggy brain or confusion all the time, feeling down and depressed, crashing. A lot of people have energy crashes. Having the right diet keeps all that stuff in check. It's good for your sleep, especially with like, good exercise, diet and exercise. They say that because it really works. You have more energy. And then your hair, skin, and nails look better too. You get that kind of glow going on. You look young. All right. So let's talk about the major macronutrients and their function. So we got carbohydrates, carbs. That's what gives your body energy, literally gives you fuel to get throughout the day. That's for your thinking, your breathing, eating, walking. All that requires carbs. The most basic sugar in the body, glucose, powers all your cells. And your brain and your red blood cells, they can only use glucose to function. So, if you had to have some carbs to think clearly. Um, and you need carbs to, help you burn fat as well. It gives you energy to exercise. Protein. So, protein is the second major macronutrient. It helps you repair your cells repair themselves. It helps you make new cells, and most people know it for helping you build muscle. It's good for that too. Um, so you want to have adequate protein intake to keep your muscular health in check, especially when you start going to the gym and stuff. Um, and then fats. That's the third major macronutrient. And so fats are used in hormone synthesis, maintaining your brain and nervous system. Your neurons are covered in what's called myelin sheaths. It's like little fatty layers that help you basically send electrical impulses through your body and help your nervous system run more efficiently and faster. So it's helpful. Fats are helpful in building new cells, and even in energy storage. So they talk about like hibernating animals. They store up fat deposits and helps them, you know, you know, maintain during non-hunting seasons. So some fat is good for you. It's just eating the right amount and the right type. So you want to use that for maintaining all those things. And so a healthy balance is key. So for carbs, protein, and fats. And for men, they recommend 50% carbs in your diet, 30% protein diet, and 20% fat in your diet. And so for women, it's like 55%, 20 to 30%, and 15 to 20%. And so as you can see, like men have kind of a range that they should kind of fall within, to have a balanced life. So pay attention to those percentages, when you're, building the kind of diet you want, those proportions. Um, Micronutrients. Okay, so those are your vitamins and minerals, and there's four main groups. You got water soluble vitamins, so that's B vitamins and vitamin C. That basically means they're soluble in water, and when they go through your body, if you take excess amounts of them, you can pee them out. And then fat soluble vitamins, those get stored in your fat in your body, and so those are vitamins A, D, E, and K. And so you can actually overdose on those, and you can get vitamin toxicity from taking too much. That's why they say don't take too many daily vitamins. Well, you're overdosing on fat soluble vitamins at a certain point. You can't just pee those out; those get stored in your body. Then you have macro minerals, and then you have trace minerals. So macro minerals, calcium, magnesium, stuff like that. They're very common in foods. But then there's like trace minerals like selenium and copper. You don't need that much of those in your body, but they form up cofactors and parts of enzymes in your body and help basically help cellular processes function. So keeping your macrominerals and trace minerals in balance, you could do that by having a balanced diet. But there's no real reason to like OD on minerals. It's just like they'll tell you, these vitamin companies, they'll say, oh, you got to have this. I mean, if you eat a well balanced diet, you'll probably get most of those. And you know, if you're deficient in them, it'll show up in your body. Um, so basically, minerals and water soluble vitamins, excess is peed out. But as a rule of thumb, don't go crazy with vitamin supplements. Well balanced diet will definitely help you regulate all this stuff, and your brain will kind of tell you what it wants. You start craving certain foods when you have vitamin and mineral deficiencies. All right. So when people talk about diet, like one thing to understand is like there's no like one size fits all for a diet. And the reason is for that is because when like cultures evolve, unique diets formed as people created different civilizations, people migrated, people formed new, central centers of society. People started eating what was available in those regions. And so some people have certain preferences of foods, and that's okay as long as you're respecting your body. One diet works for someone might not work for another. And so what scientists have found is even different ethnic groups and cultures have different gut bacteria and fungi because those microbes feed off of what you eat. So if you have a particular diet, like say you have a Mediterranean diet, well, microbes, they're sensitive. Your microflora, like the bacteria that grow in your stomach, are unique to those foods, and those the bacteria that can digest those compounds in those foods, you're going to find those in Mediterranean diets, and then there's microflora in Eastern Asian diets and in certain African diets, and even the American diet has a particular kind of gut bacteria composition. So if you're too strict with a diet, sometimes your DNA will kind of guide you a bit in terms of what you want to eat. You try to follow some strict super diet, the cayenne pepper, sugar, and lemon juice diet, or whatever that thing was like lemon juice and cayenne pepper water. Your body is going to start craving what you naturally want, like what your genes are telling you want. And so just make sure you're keeping a healthy balance and watch what your macro and micronutrients somewhat. And, the best thing to understand is like there's healthy and unhealthy people in each culture. And just know that that's pretty subjective as well. So you see different body compositions and sizes and shapes in different cultures. You see people with diseases, food induced diseases in different cultures. And so whatever feels comfortable for you to eat, if you're exercising, you're taking care of your body, you're not over, your macronutrients are in the right composition, like that 50-30-20 thing. And, it's not like you're not eating just sugar or just fat or just, salty stuff. Like you're keeping balance, you'll be good. But, respect your body and listen to it. And so your diet has a role to play in your brain's health. And the right diet definitely impacts your brain, right? So healthy fats like omega-3s, omega-6s, things like that, unsaturated fats, those, help form the components that line your nerve cells. Antioxidants, they lower inflammation in your body's cells when you're thinking hard. Your cells are doing work every day to stay fresh and healthy. And you create what's called free radicals. When your cells do work, they produce waste, and antioxidants help clear up that waste, and that lowers your inflammation, keeps you looking young and fresh and youthful. Carbs keep the fuel going. If you don't have enough carbs in your diet, your brain's gonna feel kind of foggy, and you're not gonna be able to think as sharply. You want to keep some carbs going, especially if you're like reading, studying, and learning some things. You know. And then water, just staying hydrated keeps nutrients moving along, regulates your blood pressure, your hormone balance, nutrient absorption, and your body temperature. And all of those have an effect on your brain. So, with that said, your diet also affects your body at large. So, It can also regulate your sleep quality and then all of your organ systems. So your integument, that just means your skin, your skeletal system, muscular system, your lymph system, lymphatic system, respiratory system, breathing, digestive system, nervous system, endocrine system, your hormone balance, cardiovascular health, your heart and your blood vessels, even your urinary system, how you process waste and pee it out, and even your reproductive system. So, um, all of those things are affected by your diet. So they say you are what you eat. Really, all those compounds get broken down and create all these systems, when you metabolize them. And so exercise and exercise quality is important as well with your diet. If you are eating crap, you're going to feel like crap when you work out. You're going to feel like crap if you have a physical job that requires your body a lot. You're going to feel sluggish, tired, beat down, inflamed, like, you feel like you're achy, you feel like crap. But when you eat a solid, balanced diet and it has all those healthy nutrients, you feel refreshed, you feel recharged, and you feel like you can do more. So, um, diet and girls. So, a high quality diet, that's definitely going to help you, pull girls. Like I said, your energy level is better, hormone balance, you're able to keep your emotions in check, your skin's going to glow. If you're working out, your muscles going to develop a lot better. And that's all, going to help you look more attractive to the opposite sex. And so this part's pretty easy. You eat better and you up your game. And then, like I said, it's better for, when you exercise, you're eating well, you're easier for you to develop your body and look the way you want, and get swole, get muscles. And you can eat well on a budget too, especially if you're willing to cook a little. A lot of men, working out, they want to find cheap protein sources. Eggs and egg whites are super cheap. If you don't want the cholesterol, egg whites. You can get a carton of eggs for like $1.50, $2 at grocery stores. You talk about tuna, canned tuna is super cheap. Lots of cheap sources of protein. Dry beans if you're willing to cook them, brown rice, stuff like that. Help you build and bulk up. Um, so yeah, it can definitely help you with girls. If you're eating like crap, your body tends to look like crap. You're not able to perform as well. So, all right, Popeye, let's get that new diet cracking. I've given you all some tips about the importance of diet and what all those things do. And I really just want you all to go out there and, try to learn more about having a balanced diet. You want to have, you know, basically keep it simple. A protein source, a starch, rice, potatoes, whatever quinoa, that's healthy. If you like oatmeal, you know, uh, eat vegetables, a couple servings of vegetables every meal. A serving of fruit and breakfast would be great for micronutrients and antioxidants and vitamins. Just keep that balanced diet. Healthy protein source, green vegetables, and maybe a starch if you need some energy and some carbs. You'll be good to go. Stay away from fried foods. Stay away from sugary foods. All that crap is bad for you. It's gonna make you feel like crap. It's gonna make you look like crap eventually. So stay healthy, stay inspired, and let's keep moving. Let's keep building ourselves.